Hello everyone. So in this video, we will factor this complex trinomial. So as you can see, this expression has three terms. The first term is negative 5x squared, the second term is 8x, and the third term is 4. So that's why this expression is a trinomial because it has three terms. Now because this trinomial is a complex trinomial, we'll have to use the decomposition method. Now this is a complex trinomial because the coefficient of the x squared term is not equal to 1. The coefficient of the x squared term is negative 5. So that's why it's a complex trinomial. Now in order to factor this expression, the first step here is to do common factoring to factor out this negative sign. Because if we factor out this negative sign, it will become easier to use the decomposition method to factor the expression. So we write this negative sign outside the parentheses and we divide each term by negative 1, and that changes the sign of each of these terms. So the first term changes from negative 5x squared to positive 5x squared, and then 8x changes to minus 8x, and plus 4 changes to negative 4. So there is a very important concept you need to understand and memorize to factor this kind of expression. We can factor this expression in the parentheses using the decomposition method. So we'll find two numbers whose sum is negative 8 and the product is 5 times negative 4, which is equal to negative 20. Negative 8 is the coefficient of the x term, and the 5 is the coefficient of the x squared term in the parentheses, and negative 4 is the number term in the expression. Now in order to find these two numbers, we'll analyze the product number. So we have to think of two numbers that multiply to negative 20. So the first pair of numbers that comes to my mind is negative 1 and 20. But with negative 1 and 20, we cannot get a sum of negative 8. So this pair is out. The second pair that comes to my mind is negative 2 and 10. Now with negative 2 and 10, we get a sum of 8, but we want a sum of negative 8. So we can get that if we flip the sign of these numbers, if we make the 2 positive and 10 negative. Because, so if we add 2 and negative 10, the sum is equal to negative 8. And if we multiply 2 and negative 10, we get negative 20. So these are the two numbers that work for us. So now we'll use these two numbers to break up the middle term because that's what we do in the decomposition method. So we get 5x squared plus 2x minus 10x minus 4. Now that we have these four terms, we'll have to use the grouping method to factor this further. So in grouping method, we pair up the first two terms and we pair up the last two terms. And now we'll have to do common factoring from each pair. So we can continue on this side. So we keep the negative sign. Now I'll replace the parentheses with brackets because we'll use parentheses for the common factoring. So from the first pair, we can factor out an x. And we are left with 5x plus 2 in the parentheses. And now from the second, we can factor out a negative 2. So in the second pair, the first term is negative, so that's why it's important to factor out the negative sign as well with the number. And in the parentheses, we are left with 5x plus 2. So basically, we did negative 10 divided by negative 2, which is equal to positive 5, and then negative 4 divided by negative 2, which is equal to positive. Now we can see that this 5x plus 2 common in both parts of this expression, so we can factor out 5x plus 2, and we can write whatever is left over in the second parentheses, which is x minus 2. So it's this x here and this 2 here. So this should be the final answer for the factored form of this complex trinomial. And in all of these steps, as you can see, I kept this negative sign. So these are the steps you have to keep in mind to factor a complex trinomial like this one. I hope you will find this video useful. Please share it, like it, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.